Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more.
Now, a lot of people love Devin Witherspoon, and I really like him too. But in terms of playing, see, here's the way I think of it, and it's not that I'm right or wrong, but I think in this league, the way passing games and offenses are going, that you need to line up and play press man. Not on every snap. Nothing's 100%. We all know that. But I think you need to line up and play press man. And I think that Christian Gonzalez from Oregon, who I expect to be gone by the time the Patriots pick, and Deonte Banks, to me, are the two best press man corners.
For folks who aren't familiar with your game, just how would you describe yourself as a player?
Just somebody that's versatile, fast, long, tall, that can move around, and somebody that loves to learn and just wants to learn all the nuances of the defense and how they all build together. So, yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast featuring Phil Perry. You heard Christian Gonzalez, the Patriots' first-round pick. Took him at 17 out of Oregon. They traded back from 14 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Still were able to get what many people figured, Phil, was a top 10 talent and a cornerback, which we did say between that offensive tackle and wideout were the most critical spots. Thoughts on Gonzalez?
This is a dream scenario for the Patriots. I did not think that he would make it to 14, never mind to 17, with the Patriots picking up an extra fourth-round pick in the process, trading down with the Steelers. This guy is so physically gifted, Tom, that I would call him one of the few true blue-chip talents in the class. At 6'2", 200 pounds, he is an unbelievably smooth mover. He is great when it comes to reactive quickness for somebody his size, especially. And he ran a 4.38 40. So, Tom, I could easily envision him defending in man-to-man coverage, which we know the Patriots want to play in their heart of hearts. 1 week, Stephon Diggs in Buffalo, and the next week with that 40 speed and that athleticism, that explosiveness, he could run with Tyreek Hill. I'm not saying he's as fast as Tyreek Hill, but when you combine his length and his speed, he's going to be able to cover a ton of ground. This is a phenomenal pick by the Patriots. I graded it for our website just a few minutes ago. I gave it an A+. I really feel this is about as well as they could have done on night one of the draft.
A resounding stamp of approval from the senator. Why then was he available at 17 is the obvious question to pose. What would you say would be a quote unquote negative or a place to work on for the young man?
I think there are a couple things. Number one, the reason to me that Devin Witherspoon went well ahead of Christian Gonzalez was because of his physical demeanor and his football character. You know, I think he's an easily projectable leader wherever he was going to end up, Witherspoon was. Whereas Gonzalez has the more impressive physical skill set. And I think he's coming along when it comes to his willingness to hit, his feistiness. I think there's a tentativeness to his game at times that would have teams prefer somebody like Witherspoon over Gonzalez. But Tom, to me, he is a willing tackler. He's not a forceful hitter the way Witherspoon is, but I think he's rare. But he's willing. And I think that's really all you need. And that's how Devin McCourty explained it to us on Next Pats last week. You have to have long speed in today's game. You have to have reactive quickness. You have to have lateral quickness. He has those things. And he said, you have to be a willing tackler. If you're willing and you can at least slow the guy down, that's what Bill Belichick asked for at the bare minimum. And he does bring that. So it makes sense that even if they let him slide a little bit, and they did, Tom, they had the opportunity to take him at 14 and they passed. They could have lost him in the next couple of picks there. So I wonder if they had a couple of other corners who were similarly valued in that part of the first round. But they still took him right in the middle of the first round. They obviously really like the guy.
Yeah, and bringing this up is not to say the guy's deficient. He just went 17th overall. He was the second cornerback taken on the board. So Bill Parcells third. My bad.
Emmanuel Forbes actually went 16 to Washington, which was interesting. But yeah.
Bill Parcells did have a saying, if they don't bite his puppies, they won't bite his big dogs. But we'll find out. I'm not even sure that he doesn't bite. What will also be interesting is the players that he's around in the Patriots secondary. Jack Jones, Marcus Jones, most importantly, Jonathan Jones, Kyle Duggar, Adrian Phillips. Marcus Jones is a little smaller. He's vertically challenged, but still there's nothing that we have yet to see to say, well, he doesn't like to hit. So probably the room can influence that as well. To me, when you get a guy who runs the 4.38, he's 6'2". You follow in the same line as Stephon Gilmore, smaller but very strong and still not small. Darrelle Revis, following the same lines as Ty Law, 6 foot, again, a bull. So all of these things are going to be important to watch with Gonzalez. I wonder if he'll be ready out of the chutes because, talking a little bit to Devin, outside corner is something that he felt was very important for the Patriots to address. He figures that between Jack Jones and now Gonzalez, you definitely have 2 outside corners. If Jalen Mills moves to safety, then you have Jonathan Jones as your hybrid slot outside guy. Miles Bryant and Marcus Jones are your definite inside guys. Bryant would be behind, obviously, Jonathan Jones and Marcus Jones. But to me, the Patriots still might be in the market for a cornerback in this draft. It just makes them a really good secondary, if not as deep as you'd like them to be outside. Do you think Gonzalez, beginning in July, can start running early with the ones and we'll get tested out to see if he's football ready for opening day to be in the starting lineup?
That's my guess. You take somebody 17 overall, you want them to make an immediate impact. You want them, you have conviction in their ability to be able to make an immediate impact. That's what I would expect. I think they knew that they had a need on the outside. They needed size in that corner room. They got, in my opinion, the second best player at the position in this year's draft. I know he went third, and that, Tom, to me might be another reason why he waited a little bit longer than we were thinking he might. There were projections where he was, off the board at 6 to Detroit or 7 to Las Vegas. It is a deep corner class. And so if you are out there, you're listening to our podcast and you're saying, it sounds like they got a good player here, but doesn't Bill turn like undrafted rookies into top end corners? I've seen Malcolm Butler. I've seen JC Jackson. Did they have to use that ammo that they had in the first round on this position when that really feels like the position that Bill is really able to develop extremely well? I think there's some merit to that argument, and I think it might be the reason why he fell a little bit. If you're a team that felt like you needed a corner, you could look at this year's class and say, you know what, I like the guys in round 1. We could wait till round 2, and we could get one of the guys from South Carolina. There's 2 that could end up being starting corners as rookies. We could wait for the kid from Purdue if we want some size on the outside, Corey Trice, and play him in a Seattle-style scheme. There's so much depth on day 2 and maybe even into day 3 at this position that if you were corner needy, you might have been willing to wait and not draft one on day 1.
I think what's cool about this for the Patriots is they had a 2020 draft that brought in Kyle Duggar, who is an impact player and trending well. That season also had Mike Onwenu. 2021, you get Barmore, Ramondre Stevenson, and of course, Mac Jones, who we'll get to in a minute. In 2022, you get Cole Strange, who was a starter and should trend to be a very capable guard, in my estimation. You also get Tyquan Thornton, who I think has the ability to be the outside guy that we're talking about. They need to add. He could be that guy. He's a second-round pick. Additionally, you get Jack and Marcus Jones. So that's 3 good drafts in a row. And now you've taken the most sensible guy you could take to begin the 2023 draft. So this is outstanding, I think, for the Patriots. They're still going to have opportunities. Now they add that 4th round pick. They have 5 picks remaining. They still have 6 picks remaining before 135. So they're going to be packaging, and they have the artillery to move up. Right now, as we do this, the Dallas Cowboys are on the clock at 27. We wanted to get this out as quickly as possible, so we're doing it before the first round ends. As we speak, Will Levis, pick is in. Somebody's going to get erased off this board. Will Levis, Nolan Smith, Michael Meyer, Joey Porter Jr., Miles Murphy, Brian Branch. Let's skip through those guys and look at some of the offensive linemen who will be on the table at the beginning of round 2. And the Patriots are at 46. You have Matthew Bergeron from Syracuse and also Cody Mock from North Dakota State, along with Anton Harrison, DeJuan Jones, and Tyler Steen. Those are your top guys. That's Syracuse, North Dakota State, Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Alabama.
I believe Anton Harrison went off the board to Jacksonville.
Well, why aren't they updating this?
They need to update it. I don't know where you're getting your information from, but I
It's only
believe he went to
ESPN.
Jacksonville.
ESPN lies.
Wait,
I just had a
hold
flashback to
on.
2015.
Let me look now. Now I might be screwing it up. Sorry, John.
We're going to take a 20.
Pause.
Put up one of those
Pause.
signals. We're back to live action. It has been established that Anton Harrison remains available. Again, we're in progress here. He could be gone in a moment. Bergeron, Mock, Harrison, Jones, Tyler Steen. Phil, any of those guys float your particular boat?
Yes.
Make your propeller move.
So Harrison to me is really interesting because I spoke to an offensive coach this week who actually had Anton Harrison from Oklahoma, rated ahead of the two SEC tackles, Darnell Wright, who went 9 overall, and Broderick Jones, who went middle of the first round, to the Steelers actually at number 14. So this guy is an athlete and is more of the pass protecting mold player at that position, if that's what you want. So if you want a future left tackle, and he's available in the second round, maybe you trade up to go get him. The guy, Tom, who feels like a Patriots pick to me and is in a different mold from Harrison is Bergeron. Canadian guy from Quebec, really great story. Plays, seeks out a school in Canada that has football because he wants to give it a try, makes his way eventually to Syracuse for a camp. They offer him a scholarship because he's got good size. He's a good athlete. He teaches himself English along the way. He goes to Syracuse. COVID hits. He can't go back over the border, so he can't see his mom for basically a full year. He sticks it out at Syracuse. He plays both tackle spots. This guy is smart, tough, dependable. I've been told he might be the smartest tackle among like the top 5 or 6 in this year's class. He's just not the best athlete in the world, Tom. So like I've talked to coaches who tell me we love the kid and we went into watching the tape wanting to love the tape. We wanted to love it so badly because we love this kid as a person so much, but the tape is flawed. So in the second round, though, are you willing to live with that?
Plot twist.
Are you willing to live with that? You watch him against Clemson, have some issues with Miles Murphy at times off the edge. You watch him against some higher end competition, and is he a good enough athlete to live at left tackle? I don't know, but maybe the Patriots would look at him and say, and people said the same thing about Matt Light years ago. We took him in the second round. That ended up working out okay for us.
Cody Mock, I don't want to hear what the hell he did to get into college football. Phil, you went a little deep on
Sorry.
Mr. Bergeron.
Canadian, French speaker.
Cody Mock too?
No, Cody Mock has the distinction of having both the best hair and the best smile in the draft, though.
North Dakota State. He's a mauler.
He's a little light. But he could play every position.
Some more sand in his pants?
He might be able to play every position on the line, honestly, Tom. They tried him at center at the Senior Bowl. He's a tackle at North Dakota State. Really amazing athlete. Like you look at his 3-cone time, he has a 3-cone that was better than the receiver, Quentin Johnston's this year. So special athlete, smaller program, second round. We've seen Bill Belichick do it before. Jamie Collins, Kyle Duggar. Makes sense.
Could be a third down back. Jonathan Mingo remains on the board as we speak, as the Jacksonville Jaguars make their selection to 28. They traded back. Johnny Mingo remains on the board. Wide receiver also, you got Jaden Reed from Michigan State, Jalen Hyatt, and Cedric Tillman from Tennessee, the best Tennessee crop since Carl Pickens was cruising around down there. Marvin Mims, Josh Downs, and my guy Tank Dell. If the Patriots, again, they're at 46, then at 75, I do believe. And then they have now a host of 4th-round picks, 4 of them. If they want to do business at wide receiver, is the drop-off now precipitous to that group?
It's a tough group if you want a boundary guy. If you want a big-bodied boundary guy, there ain't that many of them in this year's class.
It looks like Mingo at 6'2", 220 might be the biggest. Is he too redundant for Devontae Parker?
He fits the suit, and I would not care. Devontae Parker, I don't think, should prevent you from investing at this position and investing early, because He's not always on the field, and he's not going to be here for the long haul in all likelihood.
Thoughts
So
on
Jonathan
Tillman?
Mingo to me, Tom, smart, willing blocker. It's hard not to get thoughts of A.J. Brown in your head when you watch him because he went to Ole Miss and because his body type is what it is, 6'2", 220. He ran a 4.46. I mean, this guy is a pretty freaky athlete. I would be willing to package some of those picks together, move up in the second round, and draft Mingo. And maybe you miss your chance to get our guy Bergeron, but maybe you add an athletic tackle a little bit later in the draft. Maybe it's Steen from Alabama. Maybe it's Freeland from BYU. Maybe, you might be sort of piecing it together at tackle. You may not get that stud at tackle, but I think it might be worth trying to get the stud at receiver. I think Mingo has the potential to be that.
Cedric Tillman would be the other guy, 6'3", 213. He's a big fella. If you want to go boundary, thoughts on that? And Michael Meyer is hanging out there as well as more of a. Again, I'm fixated on tight end, wide receiver, and offensive tackle now. All the tight ends, which we kind of expected, are still there, from Meyer to Luke Musgrave, Darnell Washington, the massive human, Sam Laporta, and Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, so I would say with Tillman to start, possession guy. So if you want to be more dynamic on the outside, probably not your cup of tea. He's not necessarily going to run by you, I don't think. Now, he did play through some injury this past year at Tennessee. So I'm not sure he showed how explosive he was for them, and maybe he's a better athlete than I'm giving him credit for right now, but he is a big-bodied, box-you-out kind of receiver on the outside. Maybe they want that. When I look at the tight end group, that in some ways gets me almost more excited, Tom. Like Luke Musgrave from Oregon State would be, I hesitate to invoke this name, but sort of a Gronkowski-ish pick. He only played 2 games last year
53, yeah,
because of injury. He's not as big as Gronk, and we don't know if he's the same kind of blocker because they used him as a move tight end. But he has the size to play the Y spot, that inline tight end spot, and he is a ridiculous athlete. He was one of the fastest players, period, at the Senior Bowl when it came to the GPS tracking stuff, the miles per hour stuff, over 20 miles an hour, 255 pounds. That's rare. And so if you want to become a 2 tight end team, maybe you're a 3 tight end team at times with Gesicki and Hunter Henry and Musgrave. That would be kind of fun.
And again, that's bearing in mind too, with all of these players, you have to keep the contract status in mind. You want to have wide receivers in-house because next year, Kendrick Bourne and Devontae Parker are both up. And that's important to remember. Of course, Juju Smith-Schuster is here longer. Tyquan Thornton will be here longer. But again, on tight end, Henry and Gesicki are both in the final year of their deal. Gesicki just signed a 1-year deal. So Musgrave has an NFL comp on ESPN. Is Gesicki would be his comp. So there's so much business that the Patriots are in a place to get things done. And I think it's interesting too. Earlier on Thursday, I reported after speaking to people down in the building that the Patriots have no intention of trading Mac Jones, and that's tracks with what we expected. But it was indicated to me that Bill Belichick is not interested in trading Mac Jones in any way, shape, or form. Certainly, that was borne out as Will Levis, rappelled down the draft board past 14, past 17, and the Patriots made nary a move to go get the Kentucky quarterback. But also, I think it reaffirms that, yeah, I certainly believe that there were conversations, whether it was shopping, whether it was inquisitions or inquiries made. I certainly believe that the Patriots would listen to any conversation on Mac Jones, but there was no intention, not just from ownership, but also on the part of Bill Belichick to trade Mac Jones. And that was said to me quite emphatically. So Mac Jones not being traded, that doesn't mean it rules out a 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th, 5th round quarterback, because Mac Jones at this time, Phil, next year will be in the process, the Patriots will be, of deciding whether or not to pick up his 5th-year option. So he could be in his walk year next year as well. And the Patriots would have to plan at that position. But to me, you have resolution there and you have a quarterback you're going to move forward with, certainly for 2023. And there's no question that that's what's going to happen. So the uncertainty being hinted at in the conversation about they're not saying his name, that means something's afoot, has been put to bed.
This is why the people Stick with us, Tom, right?
Stick
Give him
with
the good.
people.
We give him the goods. We give him the goods. Give him the good info. It to me never made sense for them to actively try to do it. I was stunned watching the NFL Network broadcast. They had a full-on conversation for almost 5 minutes, it felt like, about whether or not the Patriots might trade Mac Jones with the Raiders on the clock at 7. So it just goes to show how, and again, you and I have never said that there are no issues between the coaching staff and the quarterback, but trading him for a variety of reasons never felt realistic, at least at this point, right? As you mentioned in your report on Early Edition, things could always change, but not this weekend. So,
I mean, there's a difference.
That's the important takeaway.
There's a difference between grounding a kid and kicking him out of the house. He didn't need to be kicked out of the house. Maybe you want to ground him, you can ground him. Don't say his name. See how that goes over. Pretty big news. All right, let's put a cork in this. Let me see the best availables one more time. Let's look at the overall, see if there's anything else we need to update the kids on here. Overall, Will Levis still sitting there.
Anton Harrison did go to the Jaguars. He just went 3 or 4 picks later than I thought he would.
So Will Levis still there like a bump on a log. Nolan Smith, Michael Meyer, Joey Porter Jr., Miles Murphy, Brian Branch. Oh, I just got the alert on my phone. Bedtime. Your bedtime's set for 11:30. No, not going to be in bed. I'm going to be on Boston Sports Tonight. And on Friday, we'll be back at it again. We're going to be back here for the draft rounds 2 and 3. Obviously, we'll be on Early Edition and BST. Phil and I will actually be hosting BST. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but I'm ready.
Yeah, you and me are zinging and zanging on the Boston Sports Tonight program and set. Guys, thank you so much. Phil, fantastic job as always, bringing all the draft knowledge.
Same to you, Tom. Great night.
Okay, then. See you in a minute when we walk
bye.
out of these little rooms and see each other. Bye.